it's just been an amazing journey. It's from the beginning, making the long list and then the short list and then getting to come to Montreal as one of the finalists. It's just been full of drama and excitement, and I've been really pleased to be part of it at every stage. It was wonderful to come to Montreal and meet the other two finalists who I learned a lot from, and to hear the students talk about my work. That was just something that doesn't happen very often, and that was incredible. And to meet the faculty and the community and all to be part of this amazing prize. It's just wonderful. Native Nations is a millennium of history of Native Americans in North America. It starts a few centuries before the arrivals of the first Europeans and Africans, and talks about what Native Americans were doing, how they were living through history, how they were different from each other long before other peoples came to these continents. And then it continues through centuries of colonialism by Europeans, and goes into the 20th and even into the 21st centuries to connect that the long past of Native North Americans to their presence in the present day. I teach a class on Native North American history, and in teaching that class, I've taught it for 20 years, and I've had to develop it beginning long ago and continuing to the present. And one of the things I love most about that class is that students sit through a semester, and by the end of it they know Native nations were here centuries and centuries, millennia before there were Europeans here, and they also know that Native nations are still around, that there are still hundreds and hundreds of sovereign Native nations under the sovereignty of the United States and Canada and Mexico in North America. And I've never written a book like that tried to stretch that much time, but I really wanted to bring the same sort of experience to readers and the same knowledge to readers of that broad time period that I do to students in that class. I think the main point of the book is that Native Americans lived in nations long, long ago, and they still live in nations. And so one of the biggest stories of the book is survival, that Native Americans not only are still around today as people, as descendants of Native Americans in the past, but they've held on to their nationhood, to their separate identities, to in many cases their separate languages and cultures, and those are still vibrant and still politically important these days. And so I hope to teach people this long history that got us where we are today, and also to know that Native nations will be continuing into the future. Well, I've got a lot of publicity that's coming out of winning this prize, which is just wonderful. So I have lots more talks and podcasts and things that I'm doing as a result. But once that all settles down, I'm planning on spending the summer starting the research and writing of my next book, which will be written for the 250th anniversaries of the American Revolution that are coming up. So it'll be focused on a smaller time period than Native nations, but also about how different Native peoples, European peoples, African peoples were part of the American Revolution.